This great country that we live in. We pray that you guide and protect this city council and direct us on the issues that come before us. We ask that you keep all of our friends in the police and the fire department safe and healthy. We pray for our elected officials in Washington and, of course, our military abroad. We thank you for all of these blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Pennington. The Troy City Council meeting is now called to order. The roll call, Ms. Stewart.
Mayor Slater.
Here.
Councilmember Abraham.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Here.
Councilmember Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Hoderick.
Here.
Councilmember Pennington.
Here.
All present. First on the agenda are certificates of recognition and special presentations. We have 4 this evening. C1 is a proclamation to recognize former Mayor Jean Stein on the occasion of her 90th birthday. That's hard to believe. Mayor, if you'd meet me at the podium, I'd be honored to present you with a proclamation, and I would invite State Representative Padma Kupa to join me there. She also has a presentation.
Double header.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's go back here.
Yeah, you go first.
Mayor, it's my honor and privilege as a representative for the Troy City Council, the City of Troy, all the businesses, all the people that surround you, that you've made so happy all these years. It's hard to believe that you're 90 years old.
Thank you.
But let me read this proclamation in recognition of Jean Stein on the occasion of her 90th birthday, and it'd be my honor to read this into the record. Come on up here. Whereas today we gather to honor Troy resident Jean Stein on the occasion of her 90th birthday, and whereas on June 18, 1929, Jean Goodwin entered the world, making her parents, William Lyle Goodwin and Eleanor Laura Abel,
Yeah.
very happy. Born in Detroit, Jean grew up in Birmingham, the oldest of 11 children. Rita, Bill, Dick, Mary, Celia, Monica, Ann, Michael, Loretta, and Patty. And whereas Jean met her husband John, better known as Jack, Stein, at a friend's wedding in Clawson, and they were married on February 3rd, 1962. They built their home in Troy on Bolin in the fall of 1962. Sadly, both Jack and Jean's only daughter, Sheila, passed away in 2007. She is the proud grandmother of Brian, Dominic, and Megan, and great-grandmother of Hunter, Isabella, Caitlin, and Nicholas. And whereas Jean was elected to the Troy City Council in 1976 and served for 16 years, they don't allow that anymore. She was elected mayor of Troy in April of 1992 and served until 2001. They don't allow that either. She also was re-elected to City Council and served from 2003 to 2006. During her tenure on City Council, she was employed as a school counselor and teacher in Clawson for 33 years. She received her BS and MA from Wayne State University. And whereas Jean served on many committees and in leadership roles during her council tenure, including the National League of Cities, past president of the Michigan Association of Mayors, Michigan Municipal League Board of Directors and Vice President, Henry Ford Health System Board of Directors, Traffic Improvement Association of Oakland County, scholarship committees for the Elks, Zontas, military academies, Clawson Elk Optimist Clubs, Troy Downtown Development Authority, and the Arab American Chaldean Council Board of Directors. And whereas, you know, I haven't said this for a while, but when the font is very, very small, that means that you've been around a long time and that you've accomplished a great deal. And this font is very small. So whereas Jean has spent countless hours volunteering within the Troy community and beyond for organizations including the Troy Firefighters Women's Association, Troy Community Coalition, Boys and Girls Club of Troy, Troy Youth Assistant Council on Aging, Clawson Troy Elks, Troy Historical Society, Boy Scouts of America and Girl Scouts, Troy Youth Assistance Council. There are so many here that I'm going to skip just a little bit.
Good for
so
you.
many. But Jean has received Troy's Distinguished Citizen Award in 1985, Michigan Municipal League's Meritorious Service Award, Outstanding Public Service for Clawson Troy Elks, and the U.S. Marine Corps' Outstanding Public Service Award. And whereas Jean loves to work in her garden, take walks with her German Shepherd, Shelley, write poems for everyone who retires within the Troy community, we've all had those, spend time at her house in Sheboygan, and visit regularly with all her loving grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And whereas on June 22nd, family and friends will join together for a family reunion at the American Legion Hall in Auburn Hills in celebration of Jean's 90th birthday. And you know what we're going to have? Delicious food, laughter, cake, and ice cream.
Good.
Jean is honored and respected by all for the many contributions for family, her community, and her positive outlook, especially on life.
Thank you.
Now therefore be it resolved that the Troy City Council of the City of Troy congratulate Jean Stein on the occasion of her 90th birthday, and be it further resolved that the Troy City Council and all Troy residents extend best wishes to Jean for many more healthy and happy years. Jean, it's my honor to present this to you on the 17th day of June 2019. It's signed by myself, all members of the City Council, and I think if we could get all of the residents of Troy to sign this, they would.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean, for what
Oh.
you've done for our community. It's been an honor to know you.
Thank you, Your
so much.
Honor.
Thank you.
Yes.
I would like to say a few words.
But you're in charge. Okay?
Please.
Okay,
State Representative Padma Cooper.
so this is very, very personal for me, Jean. Thank you for allowing me to do this, Mayor Slater and City Council. From the state of Michigan, this is a special tribute to Jean Stein. let it be known that it is a genuine pleasure to extend special greetings to Jean Stein upon the occasion of her 90th birthday. We are grateful for this opportunity to join with the family and many friends of Jean Stein as we honor an individual who truly understands the beauty of life in its challenges and triumphs. Born on June 18, 1929, Jean Stein grew up in a world quite different in many ways from the one we know today. In the span of her lifetime, tremendous cultural, sociological, and technological changes have transpired here in Michigan and elsewhere. That Jean Stein has lived and tasted of life throughout this period has given her insight, experience, wisdom, and inclusiveness few of us can truly appreciate. Jean Stein is one of Troy's most distinguished and respected leaders. A former teacher and school counselor in Clawson, Jean was elected to the Troy City Council in 1976, earning the honor of Troy's Distinguished Citizen in 1985, and served as mayor of Troy from 1992 to 2001. She returned to the City Council in April of 2002 and served until November of 2007. Jean always embraced the epic highs and challenging lows of local governance, and her passion for community service did not diminish when she retired from elected office. In addition to her civic service, Mrs. Stein served on the boards of over 40 local, regional, and national public service organizations. She served as president of the Michigan Association of Mayors and vice president of the Michigan Municipal League, amongst others. She has also volunteered for the Troy Firefighters Women's Auxiliary and remains a vocal advocate for the Troy Public Library. She is a mentor to many in the community, serving as a tremendous role model for civic engagement and public service. She works on elections, makes soup for church luncheons, and sends dozens of birthday greetings and get well wishes to friends and acquaintances. Clearly, her life of public service is unsurpassed. Long ago, Charles Dickens made an observation on aging that often seems applicable to people like Jean Stein, who have contributed a great deal to life around them. He said, "Father Time is not always a hard parent, and though he tarries for none of his children, he often lays his hand lightly on those who have used him well." Surely, Jean Stein breathes great meaning into this thought. In special tribute, therefore, this document is signed and dedicated to offer birthday greetings to Jean Stein as she marks her 90th birthday. May the health and happiness her years so richly merit be with her always. Both from me, State Representative of the 41st District, and our Governor, Gretchen Whitmer.
Thank you so much.
Hold both.
Yeah.
It's all yours.
Thank you. And I know the city council thought they were going home early. But I do want to say thank you very much for this great honor. I wasn't expecting it. And now maybe when you reach my age, it'll happen to you as well. But I just wanted to let you know that the greatest learning experience of my life was during the years that I served on city council in the city of Troy, and probably the greatest time of my life as well. And I want to thank all of those residents and staff who assisted me in serving the city that I love. There can't be any better. Thank you so very much. Appreciate that. Oh. I'm sorry. Oh, my family's back there. Oh, my goodness. Oh, for heaven's... Oh, I didn't know.
Come up here. Come on. Family, come on.
Family, Celia. Celia. Oh, my. I don't know if my brother can he make it? Maybe he can't. He needs... He's 2 years younger than I am. Just a few of my brothers and sisters, my brother and my sisters.
And your one niece.
Oh, yes. Hi, Kelly. Or no, Tamara. Oh, my goodness.
Congratulations. We're so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I didn't know my family was proud of me. Thank you. Oh, my gosh. We're all proud of
Everything you've done, you know that.
No, I guess I never think about it. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to...
So, who's this?
This is my brother Bill,
And who's this?
and this is my niece Tamara. This is my sister Monica, my sister Loretta, my sister Celia, and Tamara is Celia's daughter. Yes, a few members of family.
Let's get a picture of them with you, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, get in there.
Maybe we can't see Mom. Come on.
I certainly wasn't expecting this, but thank you so very much. What an honor. The best city in the world, and it will remain that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's certainly hard to top that. Next on the agenda is C2, which is a presentation by St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church for the upcoming Opa Festival. And I'll ask Corey Haddad and Gina Haddad to come forward to make a presentation about this wonderful event for our community. Good evening.
Good evening. Certainly is a tough act to follow.
Yes.
So good evening, Mayor Slater, Mayor Pro Tem Baker, members of the council and city leaders, and residents of Troy. It's the time of year where we all say, Opa! Opa! All right, we're getting there. So this weekend is St. Nicholas's annual Greek festival, Opa Fest, and it's your chance to be Greek for a weekend. It is going on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It is the largest ongoing Greek festival in the Metro Detroit area, and this year we are celebrating our 26th year. As you attend our festival, you will experience the sights, sounds, and tastes of a proud people whose cultural history goes back over 4,500 years. Our members have worked very hard to prepare authentic foods, some of which are here for you after the meeting. Costumes and dances so you can become Greek for a short while. We invite you to participate in this celebration of Hellenic culture, dance, food, and faith.
So the admission of the festival, it's $2 for adults, and children 12 and under are free. Or you can bring 3 canned goods, and those will be donated to Gleaners Community Food Bank of Southeastern Michigan.
As many know, there is a bridge out on Waddles Road, so we are aware of this. So you just need to go to Bolin Park on Crooks Road, and we will shuttle you free to and from the festival. So there is some disabled or handicapped parking on site, but otherwise we will provide shuttle service for free. Most people in the community want to come for the food. Pastries. We will have our famous homemade pastries from the members of our parish, such as honey-drenched baklava, as well as curambietes, faniakia, kulurakia, sesame cookies, and paxamadia, which for many it's all Greek to them, but it all tastes great. There is classic Greek cuisine, such as the lamb shank platter, the gyro, pronounced as gyro, seasoned lamb and beef, souvlakia, we have pork and chicken kebabs. We're also doing lamb sliders, spanakopita, which is our spinach pie, pasticcio, which is like a Greek lasagna, all ready to eat for everyone when they arrive. We also have a kafenio, which is a Greek coffee house. In there you'll find real Greek coffee, a cold frappe, or the famous honey puffs, loukoumades. There are also some special food events. We do have live cooking demonstrations where you can learn to prepare some of these famous Greek foods. We also have Maria Bernardis, who is a globally recognized Greek chef and founder of Greekalicious Cooking School. And we will also have an Iron Chef competition on Saturday night at 8 p.m. You can vote which team is your favorite in that competition. And then Gina is going to talk a little bit about some of the other events going on.
So the food is great, but there's a lot of activities, like other activities that you can do. There's a Greek marketplace that sells t-shirts, jewelry, arts and crafts, and there'll also be a bookstore. There are presentations of the Greek culture and religion, along with tours of the St. Nicholas Church. There will also be Greek dance performances. Those are just traditional Greek folk dances performed by over 200 dancers. There will also be daily. There will be dancing to the live Greek band, the Levendes, and there will also be some fun things for your kids to do. There's some rides and games there. There will also be raffles and prizes throughout the festival. There's a Yaya's cook-off, which Yaya means Greek for grandma, and that would be St. George of Bloomfield Hills versus St. Nick's, and that will be on Sunday. So you should come and visit our beautiful St. Nicholas Church. And there will also be a bone marrow drive, so you could come see if you're a match. And the hours of the festival are on Friday, it's 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. On Saturday, it is also 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. And on Sunday, it's 12 a.m. to 8 p.m.
12 p.m.
Oh, sorry, 12 p.m. And for more information, you can go to www.opafest.org. We hope to see you at the St. Nicholas Opa Fest, and that will bring you all the aromas, sounds, tastes, and traditions of Greece to your doorstep. And the admission ticket becomes your passport as you enjoy Opa Fest, Greek festival.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We look forward to it. It's a great event. Thank you for that presentation. It's one of the best events in the city, and we certainly look forward to it. Next on the agenda, C3, is a presentation on invasive species from Oakland County Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, which is CISMA. And I see Coordinator Erica Kleitz and Chris Bunch, the director at Six Rivers, are here to make a presentation for us. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much. And I'll be very brief because this is Erica's show, but I am the executive director of Six Rivers Land Conservancy, and I want to thank you very much for everything you've done to help us create the Turtle Woods Preserve, which is what we refer to as that 75-acre piece off of Square Lake. We're very excited to know that we're going to be able to protect that forever. And on behalf of Erica, Six Rivers is a partner in the SISMA and is the fiduciary for it. And when we take over Turtle Woods, we're going to inherit a 10-acre patch of Phragmites. So we're very excited also about being able to recruit more partners to engage with us as we work on stewardship of that parcel and other ones, and try and do some restoration work to improve the functionality and the habitat value of all of the ecosystems in the region. So thanks so much for having us, and I'll let Erica tell you about the SISMA.
Thank you. Good evening, Erica.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to present. Do I have an advancer for this? Okay. Go. Perfect. Okay. Well, many of you may have heard of invasive species, things like the sea lamprey or the zebra mussels, but there's actually hundreds of invasive species in Michigan. They're not just animals, but plants and even fungus. So they're anything that's not native to Michigan and whose introduction causes harm or is likely to cause harm here. Why are invasive species a problem? They have few natural competitors. In many cases, they change the soil chemistry, harm native plants, and unbalance ecosystems. The picture you can see is showing a bittersweet vine, which is actually strangling this tree. And they can also harm wildlife. Invasive plants also have a big impact on infrastructure. So on the left side here, you can see Phragmites plants that are growing up through roadways, through bridges here, walkways. Knotweed, which is another plant that's present in Troy, can actually grow through house foundations. So these can be very destructive plants if left unchecked. When they're dry, both of those plants are also highly flammable. So this was actually a fire near the Great Lakes Crossing Mall, where the fire department had a hard time getting under control because it actually burns so hot. So it can be a danger in the area. The presence of Phragmites has also been shown to lower property values. There was a study that they did in 2017 that showed the impact of Phragmites on home values, showing that when it's present, home values are lowered, but if Phragmites was treated, then that treatment caused increase in home values over time. So the SISMA mission and goals are to collaborate to support functioning ecosystems and enhance quality of life throughout the county. We do this through prevention, education, early detection and rapid response to new invasive species coming into the area, and through collaborative long-term management. This is a map showing our current partners among the cities, villages, and townships in the county. We also partner with, as you heard, land conservancies and other nonprofits, as well as Oakland County departments. So there's many benefits to SISMA membership, including participation in bulk treatment contracts. So we are managing this year the Road Commission's contract to treat Phragmites along the road right-of-ways throughout the county. And this gives much better prices than would be available on an individual basis for this treatment. We have these ArcGIS online survey layers that you can use to map invasive species. We give advice on best treatment for governments or for individual homeowners, and help in choosing contractors with training, grants, and other public education and outreach, such as I brought a few of our brochures that you can take a look at that we've been giving out. And generally, it's a connection to all the communities that we collaborate with, so including Department of Transportation and many other partners. So you may be wondering, does Troy have invasive species? So the answer is yes. Especially in the northern part of the county, Phragmites, which is one of our priority species because of all those impacts I mentioned, is present along roads. And also you see just a few dots on here. Those are off-road sites that have Phragmites. So that was just from a quick initial survey. This orange dot up here is knotweed that we found. I also spoke with Stage Nature Center, as of course the city of Troy owns the Nature Center property, about invasive species that they have, and they gave me this list. So the ones on the top are the ones that are having the biggest impact, and they're having the most difficulty controlling. And then the lower list are just some of the other things that are present. So you can see kind of the number of things that are present and the importance of working in a collaborative way, because obviously the Nature Center, like any other part, is not subject to boundaries, and these plants don't respect boundaries, so they move all around in the county. As it was just mentioned, invasive species have a big impact on natural areas, making them less useful for those species that otherwise would be there. So many restoration projects, including the upcoming one that will take place in this Turtle Woods area, would include removing invasive species, but the only way this will work is if we work collaboratively, because you can kind of tell from the coloration here, it's not great, but there's some Phragmites here, and there's also Phragmites here and over here. So if we don't deal with this in a way altogether, then it's going to be a lot harder to have success. I've mentioned this plant several times, but just to give you the brief statistics, it can be up to 20 feet tall. It normally forms these dense monocultures, so it's the only thing present. It has extensive rhizomes below ground, and it causes many safety and other quality of life concerns. We do have effective methods for controlling this plant, which vary depending on the environment. This is Japanese knotweed. As I mentioned, the worst impact is that it can break through building foundations. And so this is one that in the county is not widespread yet, and that's a good thing. And that's when we actually want to deal with it, is when there's just a few examples and we can get it under control. We're hearing from a lot of homeowners about this plant. They're discovering is in their yard, and they've had difficulty with it. So we hope that you will join us in preventing the spread of invasive species throughout the county. So to become a member of the SISMA, you would have to sign our Memorandum of Understanding and designate representatives. They don't have to be necessarily City of Troy employees. That would be up to the community to decide who is the appropriate person to attend our meetings. We do have monthly meetings, and to participate as a voting member, we ask that you attend at least half of the meetings per year. Those are brochures showing some of our things, and here's our for more information.
Thank you. Yeah, if you want to give those to the clerks, she can pass them to the council members. Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and hopefully one day we won't have any.
It's a good goal to work toward.
It's a good goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. C4 is a presentation for Trails and Pathways by Kurt Bovenseep, our Public Works Manager. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm here for my quarterly attempt to fulfill the desires of the community of a trail and pathway. If you recall, back in August 2018, we opened up the first segment of the Trail and Pathway. I know a lot of you attended. We continue to get positive feedback on this trail. I think very seldom would we have any concerns with trail other than maybe some mosquitoes, especially this time of year. So we continue to get positive feedback. And if you remember, the intent of segment 1 is to get the community familiar with a trail and pathway could be, to highlight the natural resources of the community, to hopes in one day continue it further north and eventually connecting to the Clinton River Trail. So about 4 months ago, we brought this opportunity before council to extend the trail to the north, and we had some public engagement. And it, once again, was fought with some pretty strong opposition. Our hopes to extend the trail, that people were using segment 1 and realizing the importance of it and the benefit of it. We heard that. A lot of people within this proposed segment use it and like it and want it to stay there, not extend past their house. So it continues to be a strategy in our council strategies adopted every year, and this particular year included $25,000 to develop a plan to better address the trails and pathways. And when that was announced to council, we had council consensus to look more aggressively at outside of just a plan, but actually doing something with trails and pathways this fiscal year, and its criticalness in continuing it and not losing what momentum we have now. So when we looked at different opportunities that we can extend the trail to the north, we went to the Green Space Subcommittee, that presentation was given by the Green Space, and we looked at that in ways to incorporate some of their findings and some of their recommendations. One of the recommendations being to continue the trail and pathway program in its entirety. And second is to look at Sylvan Glen Lake Park as the premier park that we should be investing in. So that led us to proposing this trail through Sylvan Glen Lake Park. Sylvan Glen Lake Park was originally a park that was connected into the original plan, which was done 5 or 6 years ago. So it coincides with this, and it does invest in this park as the Green Space Committee is recommending. If you recall, when we were giving that presentation, several of the residents were there that were in favor of improving this park. I think this is a gem the city has that is not highlighted. There is current foot trails there now that's not paved. They're wood chip pathways. It would require some improvements. It does cross some wet areas, but it is something that we could accomplish relatively soon. So if we were to move forward with this project, we would be looking at notifying the public and those abutting neighbors of our intents here this summer. Look at designing this fall and letting that project this winter with construction next spring and a summer completion of 2020. This project would be very similar to the segment 1 where we would be crossing some wetlands and it would take some time to design and get the proper permitting in place to accomplish this. The intent of tonight was just to bring this idea to City Council's attention that City staff is working on having action with the Trails and Pathway outside of the $25,000 that was appropriated for a larger plan. And I'll be happy to take any questions at this point.
Thank you, Kurt. Questions from Council? Mayor Pro Tem Baker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Kurt. I appreciate the update and the presentation, and doesn't sound like you're asking us for anything tonight, but it's good to see that there's something going there. I did have a couple questions and a comment, so in a way. We've talked a lot. I know there was a plan, a comprehensive plan put out, I think you said 5 or 6 years ago, just a couple minutes ago. And I think, you know, we don't want to lose the momentum. I think, and I've said this before, but it would be a good idea to put together some kind of updated plan with proposed segments. Maybe it's not going to have all the interconnectivity, but it would be very clear that it was, you know, proposed purposes only or for future planning, just so this council and the future council can say, okay, well, we have this that was updated in 2019. Maybe that's something we could work toward. Then, you know, there was the plan that when you altered before in 2015 and 2016 to go on Northfield Parkway, there's some beautiful opportunities there, I think. We've talked about I-75. I know we're a couple years away from being able to do anything on I-75 because of the construction, but to maybe have something drawn out as just a diagram as a potential would be nice to have put together. My other question was, and this is the actual question, I have two actually. I ran at the Stage Nature Center 5K on the Troy Farm last week. And you know, it's all grass and through there, and it was a great run, but it's a tough course because it was, especially with weather, made it very lumpy. Are there restrictions to putting any kind of more formalized trails in the Troy Farm area and into some of those woods? I don't know if that's a city attorney question, but I was asked that question, and I think that could be an opportunity again to highlight another gem of our city, the farm, and to get people out using places where they're not typically there. Do you know, city attorney, if that's, is there?
Mayor, I would have to do the research on it. I don't have the document right now, so I'd have to look at that and see. Okay,
thank you. That was just something that was suggested to me, and I'm curious about that. And my other question is, and I don't know, this with Six Rivers, that land that was preserved, is there any opportunity for us to partner with them to have a trail portion that goes through some of there without disrupting any of the natural aspect of it? But is that something that we could work as a city in cooperation with them? Are you aware of that?
I'm sure it would be. We've partnered with Segment 1, had several partners, and I'm sure Six Rivers would welcome the opportunity to partner with the city. I know they're partnering with the developer in developing that. So yes, there would be opportunity there, I believe. And the answer to the first question, we have looked at the Troy Nature Center and the Troy Farm to installing pathways. The concern was that it would detract from the nature aspect. It would open up opportunities that they weren't really welcomed at the nature center. They don't want running, they don't want biking into the nature center. So it's something we can revisit, but we have visited that in the past.
Okay. And then the mayor said this in the past. I know we shared some disappointment about the lack of funding and progress in this fiscal year, and I'm glad to see that you're coming up with something, and I think that's great. But we had a dinner at the Fire Station 6 last week or a week or two ago, and some of the firefighters there were talking about the trails and pathways, and they all are very supportive of the idea, but we think we've all learned that people are not so thrilled when it's going through their neighborhoods or their backyards, so please keep that in mind as you move forward. I know you will. And also the importance of spreading the wealth as much as we can to all parts of the city as best we can. Even if they don't connect right off, doesn't mean we can't do something on maybe the east side of Troy that isn't expecting it right now.
Sure. This plan did look at not connecting both segments officially. Rochester Road is going to be expanded here in the near future after the I-75, which would provide an 8-foot pathway up Rochester Road, which essentially could connect the two trails, but not through neighborhoods, using major roads to connect parks and destinations, but still trying to highlight our natural features through the parks.
Thank you. Perfect.
Any questions for Kurt? Thank you, Kurt. We look forward to moving forward. That concludes, what?
Take a quick break.
Absolutely. We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. There are no carryover items this evening. No public hearings are scheduled, so we will move to public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. I'll call upon Tom Kuhn, Troy resident, and our County Commissioner who wishes to speak on C3. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Tom Kuhn, County Commissioner for District 11, which includes Northern Troy. I would like to thank Cindy Stewart for arranging the presentation by the Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area before the City Council tonight. I've been appointed to the county's new Special Committee on Invasive Species. It's a special and unique committee for counties in our state and reflects our county's commitment to fighting invasive species that degrade our natural areas here in Troy and here in Oakland County. I support Erica's and Chris's request tonight that Troy consider joining our neighboring local governments and being part of the Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area, or CISMA. We all need to work together. Local governments, community organizations, neighborhood associations, and businesses to assure our natural environment here in Troy and to maintain and enhance our property values that depend on that natural environment. As Chris and Erica indicated, and as you all know, last meeting you approved the 75 acres to be run by Six Rivers Conservancy, and that Eric and Chris work for that Six Rivers. Those 75 acres, as has been indicated, contain large areas of invasive species. Certainly that is just one example of the need for the city to be involved in this important task of controlling invasive species. At the county, we will be looking closely at invasive species through our new special committee, looking at what we all can do to maintain and enhance our neighborhoods and natural areas. I hope Troy, too, will join with us and our surrounding communities to be part of the cooperative efforts to control invasive species. Mayor, if you'll indulge me a slight digression, I can't pass up the opportunity while being up here to commend two city employees who have gone above and beyond in responding to neighborhood and citizen concerns in the past couple months. City Traffic Engineer Bill Hootery has been amazing as we work through the major reconstruction of John R. between Long Lake and South Boulevard. He's been just phenomenal. Scott Carruthers has been extraordinarily responsive to issues involving city drains. I have to thank both of them for all their efforts. I also have to thank all of you for your time tonight and respectfully request that you consider CISMA membership for our city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for those words. That concludes those that have signed up for public comment for items on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. It's now an opportunity for council or city administration to respond if needed this evening. Councilman Hamilton.
Thank you. My only question is, have we looked into joining CISMA, and what would that take, and what are the costs? Or
we will have to look into it and we can report back.
Great, thank you.
And that would also include reviewing the memorandum of understanding.
Right on. Okay.
Is there a consensus of the council to have city administration take a look and present a report? Thank you. Tom, we're going to get a report and take a good look at that. Thank you for the report. There are no postponed items this evening, so we'll move to regular business. One, our board and committee appointments. There are none this evening, and there are no city council appointments. I-2 are mayoral nominations. I have one nomination that I'd like to place into the record this evening and nominate. But before I do that, I would like to recognize that Barbara Knight, Barbara Gardner, has resigned from the DDA district due to her retiring and moving her business out of the DDA district and moving her residence. I just want to say thank you to Barbara for all that she's done for the DDA, what she's done for our community. Without Barbara, we wouldn't have a dog park, as we all know. So I just want to say on behalf of the Troy City Council, thank you to Barbara Knight Gardner for all that she's done for the city of Troy. So that leaves a vacancy in the DDA in district. And in district means that that's somebody that has a business in the district. So I am going to nominate this evening Marty Nolenberg for the vacancy created by Barbara Knight Gardner and be nominated to the Downtown Development Authority for the term that expires 9/30/2019.
Support.
Moved by the chair and supported by Councilman Pennington that we nominate Marty Nolenberg to the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority, for the term that expires 9/30/2019. Any discussion on that nomination? The vote, Ms. Stewart?
Mayor Slater?
Yes.
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Motion passes. I want to thank Marty for volunteering to be on that important authority. As we all know, Marty has a business in the district, a very, very good and thriving business, and I think his expertise and his knowledge will be very helpful. You won't find his application in the portal yet. He will be doing that tomorrow or the next day. It'll certainly be in there before the appointment vote in 2 weeks. So that includes mayoral nominations. I understand there are no city council nominations this evening. I3, there is no request for a closed session this evening, so that will take us to the consent agenda. Anyone on council wish to pull a consent agenda item this evening? Councilman Henderson.
I'd like to move all items on the consent agenda as printed.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Henderson and supported by Councilwoman Abraham that we approve all items on the consent agenda as presented in the agenda packet this evening. Any discussion on those items? The vote, Ms. Stewart?
Councilmember Abraham?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson?
Yes.
Councilmember Hoderick?
Yes.
Councilmember Pennington?
Yes.
Mayor Slater?
Yes. The motion passes. If you were here on a consent agenda item this evening, they've all been approved. Next are memorandums and future council agenda items. K1A is an announcement for a public hearing for July 8, 2019. This is the conditional rezoning application, file number CRJPLN 2018-002, the proposed Sylvanwood Court condominium, west side of Rochester, north side of Sylvanwood, section 10, from R1C, which is one family residential district, to RT, one family attached residential district. Next on the agenda are public comment for items not on the agenda from Troy residents and businesses. I'll call upon Cynthia Wilshire, Troy resident, who wishes to speak this evening. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm back about the signs. I go to the community center quite often. Every Wednesday, we have a quilt group there that meets from 9 to 4. And they have these wonderful things on the wall with all kinds of literature in them. And I was very surprised to see a piece from Oakland County, a little booklet that tells you everything you need to know about Oakland County, who's who and what's what. And on the very front of it, it has every city in the county's logo. And yes, right there. And they're just, we got these for all the girls in the quilt group, and everybody just really thought it was a wonderful thing to have. But I thought it was great because that might give you some suggestions on which way to go on the signage for the city. I've talked to a lot of people, and they don't like what was represented. They don't understand it because it doesn't say anything. And they all agreed with me. They like the old signs that we've got there. And would like you to proceed with those. And if you have a public meeting like you've done for other things, that would be great. You'd get more input on what people really want. And if you notice, the logos on there are mainly traditional. Ours is one of the ones that is kind of modern and it sticks out. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'll call upon Teresa Brooks, Troy resident, who wishes to speak this evening. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Mayor Slater, Mayor Pro Tem Baker, and City Council officials. My name is Teresa Brooks, and at the last City Council meeting on June 3rd, you voted unanimously to approve the proclamation to declare June 7th as National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And I would like to say thank you for this vote. Nearly 40,000 people died last year in the United States from gun violence, which is the highest it's been in 50 years. As a mother with children in the Troy public school system, as well as being a physician and a concerned Troy resident, this is a very important issue. The American Medical Association has publicly declared firearm violence as a public health crisis. In order to solve a problem, we have to first recognize that there is a problem. This is an important first step to acknowledging gun violence as a matter that needs to be addressed. And I agree with you, Mayor Slater, that this is a nonpartisan issue. This is a concern that affects most of us directly in some capacity. So I thank you again for your vote.
Thank you. That concludes those that have signed up for public comment for items not on the agenda by Troy residents and businesses. It's an opportunity for council and city administration if there's any comments after those comments. Thank you. Next, there are no council referrals this evening, so that takes us to council comments. Any comments from council this evening? Mayor Pro Tem Baker.
Thanks, Mayor. I have two that I'd like to start with. First and foremost, the Troy Farmers Market is back, starting this Friday, June 21st, and going through September 27th, from 2 to 6 p.m. on Fridays in the library parking lot, because as you know, the library is not open on Fridays. The farmers market will be there on Fridays in the summer. I know we had a lot of success with it last year, and Cindy Stewart and her team have worked very hard to make it even better this year, and it's improving. And I know that there's certain days on opening day, there's a free Troy Farmers Market tote bag to the first 300 customers. So that should be a great way to go. Hopefully there'll be no rain. I think maybe we'll be done with the rain, right, Cindy? So anyway, Troy Farmers Market starts this Friday and will continue through September 27th. And earlier this evening, a few of us had the pleasure to attend the Troy Youth Assistance Volunteer Recognition. It was kind of a dinner and meeting. And I really wanted to talk about the importance of the Troy Youth Assistance. I know they make an annual report to us, but I was really struck again by the hard work that they do, and I was reading on their website today, and I talked to a few people about the importance and really what a unique program it is, working with the school district, the city of Troy, and the Oakland County. And just as a reminder for those of you that Troy Youth Assistance is committed to strengthening youth and families by preventing and reducing juvenile delinquency, child neglect, and child abuse through community involvement. It's a prevention program, it's a nonprofit organization, and I'm proud to say that the city of Troy contributes financially each year, and we just did our approved budget in May when we approved that budget, as we have in years past. The Troy Youth Assistance provides confidential, short-term, family-centered counseling and referral services for youth 16 years of age or younger and their families who live in Troy or attend Troy schools. Referrals are accepted from school personnel, police, parents, and other community sources. A professional counselor assesses the needs of each child and may provide counseling services, link families with available resources, or make appropriate referrals. The volunteers work with a professional counselor to plan and sponsor local parenting and prevention programs for youth and their families. These programs are designed to promote positive behaviors and strengthen family relationships in our community. And I can think of nothing more important to our community than to promote strong family relationships. We are a diverse community. We have a lot of needs in our community, and I'm very thankful to know that our policy on this council is to support the Troy Youth Assistance and to help them provide the necessary resources for our community with their trilateral partnership with Oakland County, the school district, and the city of Troy. So thank you to the volunteers at TYA. Your hard work is very appreciated.
Thank you. Comments by council?
Mayor.
Councilman Pennington.
So I was out of town for 2 weeks, and I hear that Councilman Hamilton was once again involved in dirty politics while I was gone. We have a press release in response to, it was issued by City Attorney Bloom today, and I'd like that read into the record before I continue with my comments.
City Attorney Bloom.
Yes, Mayor, and actually it's a release from City Manager Miller and I that was put out today. It's the City of Troy responds to citizen inquiry regarding new driveway. Troy, Michigan. In April 2016, the Troy City Council approved a 2-year extension of its contract with Delisio Contracting, Inc. of Clinton Township, contractor, for concrete slab replacement program for local and major roads. The contractor performed work by private agreement with property owners adjacent to the project, including Mayor Dane Slater. The contractor, not the mayor, should have applied for and received a permit before performing the work. The mayor brought this matter to the city's attention more than 1 year ago. However, city staff subsequently inspected the driveway and found it complies with the city codes. Mayor Dane Slater showed the city manager and the city attorney a copy of the invoice and proof of payment, so the city considers the matter closed. And the contacts for this would be myself and the city manager.
Thank you. So, Mr. Hamilton, to ambush city council members on live TV without a warning and to ask them specifics about dealing with Kishnik is crass at best. To citizens watching us, you're not making any sense. First, you were the only one in a 6-1 vote to vote against appointing Mark Miller as interim city manager. Then you were part of a botched process, 4-3 end around, to vault Mark Miller over 3 finalists as his next city manager. So Mark Miller was your guy. So when Mark Miller, your guy, brought a contract to us saying, here's a new contract with Delisio, we vetted him, he was the victim, Kishnik took advantage of him, Delisio was cleared by the FBI, and he helped put away a crook. When all that happened, I expected that the contract was easy to approve, but then you held up the contract. So my question is why? What was your conversation with City Manager Miller regarding holding up this contract? Did you hold up the contract because you actually thought there was a problem with Delisio, or because you wanted to engage in your private witch hunt? I was at a prayer breakfast which Troy hosts every year, and I heard a great analogy from a prominent person here at the city of Troy. What that leader said was that everyone wants the city to move forward with the healing process. I've talked about it. Councilman Hoderick has talked about it. Many of us have talked about it. The employees want to move past the Kishnik debacle. 6 council members want to move past it. Everyone that I talked to in the city, including many in the fire department and the police officers, want to move past it, except you, and it's for political reasons. This person said that the city's healing cannot happen with someone constantly picking at the wound. They compared it to a child picking at a scab. Picking, picking, picking. Then I had a conversation with a prominent member of the media 2 weeks later who called your actions childish at best. So the residents that I've talked to want to know your motives. You've had your little ambush. The forensic audit is complete. Are you now going to be able to move forward from the Kishnik nightmare, or are you going to continue picking at the scab? I find it ridiculous that you continue to dream up allegations that attack the character of other council members. When I have a problem with somebody, I talk to them directly, but I'm a man. I probably do things a little different. The dirty politics that you and your friend Clulish are playing are continuing to give the city of Troy a black eye. So congratulations for driving a wedge through the city council. Personal attacks on a volunteer job that is supposed to be nonpartisan. Unbelievable.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Councilwoman Hoderick.
Trying to stay on a very high road here as we go back down a low one. For some reason, when folks are practicing oversight on this council body, it causes a lot of gnashing of teeth and consternation and defensive behavior. And I think it's because there are members of this council that don't understand that oversight is a critical piece of what we do. We are accountable to the residents. That's who we report to as council members, the residents. City manager and city attorney report to us, and then we report to the residents. I understand, Councilman Pennington, that you hear from a certain group of people. There are a number of people in the community very concerned about ongoing optics. And those questions get asked a lot. Prominent members, not so prominent members, people are still concerned. It's the fallout of our failure to do oversight on the previous city manager. We're dealing with it. It's not personal. We are a body of people that are voting on million-dollar contracts. And there were questions out there that just simply needed to be answered. Why the defensive posture? I don't know. Why there was swearing at the end of the meeting behind me? I don't know. Personally, I'm an empath, and I do worry about the feelings of those around us. You know, I've tried to work as a team member. But every single time we've practiced oversight or attempted to follow systems and processes, there have been people who get angry and push back. And it leads us to not properly communicate with the people we report to, and it leads to issues with this city's reputation. These are not difficult questions being asked. They're easy. Any resident can have the contractor do their driveway when they come in the neighborhood. That's the answer. The answer is, I had it done as any resident could, and here's my proof of payment. Why was there so much defensiveness? Why so much anger at a fellow council person asking a question? We need to be able to work together, and when we say we're accountable, not accountable to one another, we are. When somebody comes here and asks questions, we're a public body. We need to take it like a man. I've had to take it. I had to take it. I had questions about my driveway in that same time frame about whether I used the contractor. And I've had to defend myself several times. I didn't use the contractor because I worried about the optics. Had I, and the questions had come forward, I would just present my proof of payment. And part of the reason that's a question is because our former city manager, who is now in prison, did not pay for the driveway that the contractor did. So people are wondering and questioning. There were alliances on council with that former city manager that people saw, and they're asking questions. They deserve straightforward answers. There still tend to be questions about the party, the December party where the bribery happened. There is rumor that continues that there was a member of this council at that party. We've all sat here and somewhat denied parsing words, and it's out there who people think was there, and it's Councilman Henderson, who, in a forthright way, could dispel the rumor so that we can move on. I'm sorry the wound gets picked, but that's our job, is to do oversight, to protect the dollars, to make sure there aren't conflicts of interests when we're voting on matters, so that we divulge there's a potential conflict of interest. Would you like me to recuse myself? We can discuss it and decide. We've had planning commissioners we've asked to recuse themselves from decisions that are near their neighborhood. It's part of being very transparent and forthright. It is difficult to clean up after we've gone through something like what we've gone through here, and it's going to continue, and we should not be. The questions were asked respectfully from there. Councilman Hamilton is working hard to get his sea legs as a councilman. He's a young councilman joining us. He did not attack. He just said we need to clear the air. Now, you don't think we do. I understand. He's representing a significant group of people, who I also hear from, that do want these questions answered. What is the big deal?
The question was asked and it was answered.
It was not answered.
This is not a debate portion.
It's not a debate.
Please give your comments and we'll move forward.
I'm giving my comments.
Thank you.
Mayor, point of order, it was Councilman Pennington who interrupted.
Right.
So it should be directed towards, well, I mean,
I recognize
but you're scolding Councilman.
No, I'm just saying, let's
sorry,
let's move forward with the comments. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a code of conduct that we sign as council members. After the last meeting, I was very uncomfortable with accusations of somebody flapping their gums as they're asking a legitimate question, and then the comments that were made after. I was in the middle of it. Took a deep breath, and I really worked to de-escalate. This city deserves the very best conduct and decorum from each of us on this council, and I think we must revisit that. As frustrated as we might get, as personal as it may feel, we need to rise above that and remain civil. You know, I'm hoping apologies have happened. I do not want to be made to feel that discomfort again. It's happened on numerous occasions to me here. And I shouldn't have to feel afraid when I'm coming to serve in a volunteer position and do a job that's very important. There are 130,000 people in this city on any given day, 80-some thousand residents. We sit in one of the best counties in the nation. We're one of the, Gene Stein, the best city. This is a serious responsibility, and when questions on oversight come up, we just need to take a deep breath and answer them. A void in communication happens, and then we get the black eye again as a city. The more we can be forthright, the better. On a very, very upbeat, high note, I'm coming to understand that our new assistant city manager, Bob Bruner, teaches ethics at Wayne State University. We are still waiting for the results of the forensic audit. We don't have the complete results. We've said that as a council body, we should revisit that training of ethics, and we'll understand what we learned from the forensic audit, if anything, and go from there. There will be probably some turnover on council in November because we have an election. I personally really look forward to starting fresh and with an orientation for City Council as an entire body, whether we've been on it for 4 or 5 years or we're brand new, as an entire body, an orientation so that we do understand our code and we understand how to work in a council manager form of government in an effective, high integrity way that this city deserves. There was discussions about stellar reputations last council meeting. This city had a stellar reputation for ethics. It was incredible. The only thing that harmed it was our former city manager that is now serving time, and frankly, a city council that was manipulated by him and did not perform proper oversight. As a new councilman, Councilman Hamilton is coming in and asking the hard questions, and he should be. He should be. and we should look forward to answering them as we serve our residents. Thank you.
Councilman Henderson.
Sure. Let me just address two words, and then I've got some things that I've written up here after last week's debacle. So alliances, let me just discuss alliances a little bit. We are charged as a city council to hire a manager, hire a city attorney. And, excuse me, the alliances that we have, what you describe our alliances, are actually working relationships with the person that we have charged with running the city. They're not alliances. They're operating situations between us and our direct report. With regard to oversight, I agree with oversight. Councilman Hamilton was not on city council when we had many closed sessions and discussed what we were going to do with regard to the city manager and some missteps that he had made. Until we ultimately fired him. Again, Councilman Hamilton was not on council. Well, yes, he was on council. I take it back when we ended up firing the city manager. So let me talk about the points that I wrote down about what happened last week. And first off, there's 6 points that I'm extremely disappointed in. First off, I'm disappointed in myself that I was affected by the culmination of about a year and a half of verbal abuse by one of the members of our audience that comes up and continually browbeats myself and other members of council. I'll only refer to myself because I can't account for the feelings that these folks have. I try real hard to keep my composure. I'm very matter of fact. I'm not going to apologize for that. The last meeting, I was visibly and outwardly aggravated and not real happy at the end of the meeting. Point number 2, I'm disappointed that I used the language that my parents didn't raise me to use in a private verbal exchange off camera with another council member. I'm not going to apologize for the words that I had with Councilman Hamilton, but I'm going to apologize that it got out in the public. If you're afraid, and in his words, afraid for your life, in a situation like that, your first move isn't to call the press and to have an article written up. So I really struggle with whether or not, in 57 years, I've never intimidated anybody, I've never threatened anybody, I didn't threaten him that night. In fact, information was brought up to the press that he was afraid because I carry. I haven't carried my personal protection device in probably the last 2 months, and that night is no different. I didn't have a gun on me. Again, I'm not a very intimidating individual. I've never intimidated anybody in my entire life, so I apologize that you were intimidated about that, but that's yours, not my issue. Item number 3. I'm a little disappointed in the free press tabloid journalism, and I apologize to Bill. I'm going to be blunt. I'm always honest and forthright with my feelings. I'm not sure that my conversation personally, and I discussed this with Bill the night he called me and asked me if I wanted to comment. I said no, I don't particularly want to comment about a personal conversation I had with anybody. And then the story ran, and we know where that's at. I just don't think that's appropriate. Whatever, if you guys get a thrill out of inappropriate language between 2 individuals, that's on you, not me. Disappointment number 4. I'm disappointed that the free press and one member of council chose to politicize a very personal thing such as a concealed carry permit that I have. I've never discussed this with Councilman Hamilton, nor has he ever seen any evidence of my handgun. Nobody has. If I carry or don't carry, you're not ever going to know that. It's my legal right. I do it for personal protection. There are political leaders throughout the country that have been shot by individuals as they're holding their public meetings. We've had, on this council since I've been on council, we've had people threaten to strap bombs to themselves and come into meetings. We've had people walk in with backpacks, and we don't know what's in those backpacks. So I'm not about to expose myself, being a public figure, doing the right thing for my city, without having some sort of personal comfort in myself and in my ability to own and carry a legal firearm. I don't discuss it with people. I don't hide from it either. And I've never tried to intimidate anyone with it, ever. Never brandished it, have never pulled a handgun out. That's just not who I am. Point number 5, another disappointment. That after 57 years on this earth, I frightened somebody. Not by threats, because I didn't threaten anyone, but by inappropriate language. And I apologize for that. I leaned over that evening, touched him on the shoulder, and stated the immortal words. But that night, I don't know if you recall, but I had exceptional difficulty trying to talk because of allergies. I didn't want to scream it across the building. That's how mad I was at him. I just wanted to get my point across to him. I don't appreciate the way he's tried to manhandle me personally, and I'm not going to put up with it. So, again, I apologize for frightening him. He's a big man, half my age. I didn't expect that inappropriate language would affect him that way. It's a first for me. It's also funny that we attended a dinner at Fire Station 6 together the following Monday, and there was no accompaniment. He didn't have anybody protecting him that evening, and didn't shy away from me. We were in the same arena together. Didn't seem to be any fear that night. It also seems to me that being in fear for your life would elicit a much different response than running to the Free Press. But it's an election year, and not the first time this group has alerted the press that there was a story brewing. Item 6, one council member, for political gain, chose to make headlines in a local paper that cast poor light on the city of Troy. I apologize to the city for that. You naturally expect better of us, and I've always responded better to adversity, and I promise to do better. So the challenge for us and me. I challenge the member of the audience who doesn't happen to be here this evening, and any council member that feels compelled to open a full investigation into the Brian Kishnick situation, especially as it relates to me. If you want to open that investigation, go right ahead. I obviously have not been clear enough to Councilman Hamilton about my stance on his platform to damage my very good reputation as a husband, a father, a grandfather, a citizen, a councilman, and a local business person. The FBI is recognized as the major leagues of law enforcement and investigation. I'm not ever going to discuss details of my interview and their lack of findings with anyone, not even you. It's good enough for me that they trusted the information that I gave them and that they found no wrongdoings in anything that I've done in my past. And that, frankly, is good enough for you. If your crack investigative team has some evidence they'd like to share with your witch hunt, bring it on. But advise you not to continue tap dancing on slanderous accusations. Maybe other council members or city employees that sat with the FBI would like to share their experiences. I'm okay with that if they don't, because the FBI did their job and imprisoned the only person that acted inappropriately.
Anybody next? Councilman Hamilton.
On at the April 22nd council meeting, all I asked about the Delisio contract was, do any council members were they at that dinner? Did they know about the drive-by? Did they have any other associations with Delisio? And almost none were revealed that night. And that to me is the most remarkable thing. Why, if the driveway was paid for properly and everything, why wasn't it just revealed? It would have been over. That would have been the end of it. I'm just trying to have us either avoid or reveal any conflicts of interest. And then at the last meeting, continuing on that, having seen new information come to light, I have council members get angry at me, grab me by the shoulder after the meeting and say, go blink yourself, have the mayor call me chicken blink, and both of them just furious. I mean, I just don't understand the reaction to that. I'll gladly post online the exact comments I made those 2 days. I don't feel they were very deep accusations. It was just wanting to clear the air, wanting to reveal information that people could think is suspicious so that we know the decisions we're making are the right decisions. And that's all I'm doing here. I'm just a little surprised at the reaction. I didn't think my questions were that out of the ordinary. I'm just really confused is all.
I was going to go before you go, but if you You got something quick?
Something quick, yeah. So the accusations have been going on for a year and a half. And I've asked and answered everything regarding Brian Kishnick to the FBI. I am not going to sit here and pander to your demands that something has gone afoul here. I haven't done anything. It's been proven by the FBI. They sat down and they grilled me in every way you can imagine on every aspect of my 8-year tenure here on City Council. And I'm not going to sit here and allow somebody to continue to slander me and try to damage my reputation. If you have interest in anything, I remember when you first got on council, I made a phone call to you and I reached out and said, got any questions, whatever, let's just give me a call and talk to me. We talked for maybe 3-4 minutes on the phone. I have never heard you call me again after that. If you have a question, I'm an open book. I don't hide from anything that I say. I'm confronting this face to face on the camera. This is not an enjoyable moment for me. That kind of language, I've disappointed a lot of people, and myself included. And that's not the kind of person I want to be. That's not the kind of person that I try to be on a daily basis. But I'm not going to sit back and allow somebody to continue to berate and try to damage my reputation in this city. I have way too much at stake for that, and you're not going to do it to me. So, again, you have a question, give me a call. I'm not going to sit here on camera and give sound bites to John Koulis for the video that he's undoubtedly already probably 90% done with during a campaign year.
Well, it's my hope that everyone gets it out of their system tonight and we can move forward. First, I want to address Councilman Henderson's misrepresentation of the questions that you asked on the 22nd. You never asked about my driveway. You asked about Kishnick's driveway, okay? You've never, since you've been on City Council, ever called me, texted me, emailed me, and asked me a question for whatever. All you had to do was call me or ask me outside in the hallway about my driveway. But no, you choose to grandstand, you choose to use the cameras to ask your questions. I could bring forward 100 people that asked me about the driveway, and I answered that question to anybody that asked me. I've said from day one, I did nothing wrong. I followed all procedures. I followed everything that the city requires. I've had conversations with the city attorney and Mr. Miller about this driveway that dates back possibly almost 2 years. They were well aware that I subcontracted with them. They were aware that it was paid for. They were aware that I followed all procedures. City Attorney Bloom, did I come to you 3 or 4 weeks ago and ask you if I should recuse myself from the vote on the Delisio contract?
Yes, you did, Mayor.
And what did you tell me?
That there was no need to recuse yourself since there was no financial interest, and that there is a duty to vote unless there is a financial interest.
So I want to make it clear, when it became public to me that the prior city manager did a crime with the Delisio Contracting Company, I immediately went to the city attorney and Mr. Miller. And I asked City Attorney Bloom, is there anything improper with subcontracting with a contractor to do the cement? They were in my neighborhood. Residents were asking, is it okay for them to do their driveway? This was 3 years ago. This was June of 2016, when none of the Kishnick stuff was ever out there. I received an estimate. I kind of thought it was a little high, but you know what? I went ahead with it, and I think, today I know it was probably reasonable, but When it was done, I wrote a check, and I gave him a check, and I paid for it. I followed every single rule. It was not my obligation to get a permit for that driveway. It's the contractors that has to get the permit, and you really never find out about that until somebody brings it to your attention. As it was brought to my attention, and I immediately went to staff and asked them to inspect my driveway and make sure it was done properly. And they told me that's what they normally do when they become aware that a permit was not pulled. There's no penalty. There's nothing done. If somebody has their roof done and a neighbor turns them in because they didn't get a permit, we don't go make them tear their roof off. We go and make sure that the roof was done properly. That's the procedure. I've been saying to you ever since you've been on here, I've done nothing wrong. I followed procedures. I've done nothing wrong. I never would do anything wrong to bring discredit to my family. Never. So I've tried my best to take the high road here. I've tried to ignore the constant false accusations by a certain Troy resident that I'm not going to give the courtesy of even stating his name. He has all of the characteristics of a bully. I say that because not only is he using bully tactics on certain council members, but he's currently doing the same thing to one of our district judges. These constant innuendos and false accusations over the past year have been supported by some of his allies on council, especially Councilmember Hamilton, who is one of his friends, personal friends, and a political colleague. So these last rounds of false accusations on me have crossed the line. They found a couple of media outlets to give their false accusation and lies some attention. This past Wednesday, I can only imagine the celebrating, slapping high fives, and whatever else they do to celebrate, while my wife had to endure the pain, stress, and embarrassment they caused while I was out of town. I wasn't there to help her. I wasn't there to come to her aid. Having news trucks parked outside our house for hours while I wasn't there to help her. Thank you, Councilmember Henderson, for coming to her aid. Thank you for coming there when somebody needed to be there. I appreciate that greatly. The stress that you caused my wife, I will never forget. I've tried my best to move forward with other members of council, but some of this council, led by Hamilton, just want to continue these innuendos. I'm not sure if this is a vendetta, a political agenda. I'm not sure. I want to address a little bit about my conversation with Free Press writer Bill Leitner. Bill called me, asked me a question. I told him I've done nothing wrong, as I've told everyone. And Bill's got a job to do, you know. Bill, what I want to say to you is thank you so much for putting a picture of me 10 years ago. You know, I appreciate that. It made me look a little better than I do today, I think. But anyways, you know, when I called you a chicken, I never intended that to make it into the papers. That was something I thought would be between you and I. And I said that because of the way you've done things. Instead of calling me, instead of looking me in the eye and asking me a question about the driveway, you chose to use the camera, and you chose to ask ambushing questions. That's why I said that. That's not the way that I would do it, and I would hope that maybe if we can move forward, we can put all of this behind us. I'm not sure if we can do that, because I tell you what happened to my wife, because of you and your friend, Councilwoman Hoderick, and her comments. Those are some things that leave scars. So, I'm hoping that we can all get this out tonight. The media is here to take more film. The print media is here to take more print. So I assume there'll be another story, and there'll be something on the 11 o'clock news. And I would just, I just want to move forward. That's all I want to do. And before I stop, Councilwoman Abraham, I've said this to you before, and I'm going to say it again. I appreciate your professionalism. I appreciate how difficult it is sometimes to sit up here and keep your mouth shut. I've tried to do that, but I felt I had to say something this evening. But I commend you for your professionalism. I've worked with you for many years, and we've had discussions in closed session, and when we've walked out of there, we've always, in my opinion, still remained friends. So I thank you for that. So please go ahead.
If I may, thank you, Mayor, for your kind words. These 4 years that I've been on council have been tumultuous, to say the least, and I'll say somewhat unprecedented even in Troy's history. There's been a lot of heated discussions, and I dare say over the course of 4 years, there have been barbed comments that have come my way, and not necessarily in closed council, but in open session. I have to remind myself sometimes that this is not about me. This is not about my ego, my reputation. It's about public service. It's the service to the community. It's about making the right decisions for the community. Any hurt that I might have needs to be put to the side and keep on going with the business of the day. The events of the past couple weeks made me think of a quote from Abraham Lincoln. It was from his first inaugural address. I'd like to read it into the record because it's something that stands the test of time. It was said at a time where we're on the verge of civil war. He closed his first inaugural address with the following statement: "We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passions may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. The mystic cords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over this broad land will yet swell the chorus of the Union. When again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature." This was written at a time of war. We are not at war. We need not be at war with each other. But what we do need to be is transparent with each other and as honest as we can be, because there was a failure of oversight. We have to own that. That was not the only mistake made. It wasn't solely Brian Kishnick that made a mistake. As a body, we failed. We need to own it. We need to understand it. We need to root cause what happened and address every root to that problem. And it's not going to be easy. And we've seen nerves get frayed, tempers flared, and we're all human. It happens. But we got to keep moving forward. We have to keep moving forward. We are not enemies. We must not be enemies. So let's move forward as best as we can, because it's not about us. It's about our residents, it's about our businesses, and it's about good governance.
Thank you. Anytime I've been asked to speak to groups about leadership, it's my opinion, so it's just my opinion. Abraham Lincoln was the greatest leader that this nation's ever had, in my opinion. And there's a great book, Lincoln on Leadership. It's a very small book. It's about this thick, and it's worth reading. Councilman Hamilton, did you want to say something?
Yeah, again, I just don't understand why on April 2nd it wasn't just revealed. Part of our code of ethics is to avoid conflicts of interest or the appearance thereof. Had you have said, I got a driveway done by Delisio, I paid for it, it was paid at the normal rate as everyone else, the issue would have been over. I don't think again, so. I'm just confused. Why isn't that a normal practice of council? It seems like a standard government ethics thing that every council member should do. I just don't get it.
Councilman Henderson or Hamilton, I could ask you a question right now that would put you in a very awkward spot. But I would ask you in private. I wouldn't use this forum to ask that question to you. All you had to do is ask me. I thought you're using the podium, you're using the TVs because you had something on me. I've never hid the fact about this driveway ever. The city attorney's known about it, the city manager's known about it, the public works director's known about it. Anybody that's asked me has known about it.
I didn't know about it.
Council, you never asked me. And I'm not going to play the game with you on camera, okay?
We're supposed to follow the Open Meetings Act and do everything in open.
No. All you have to do is ask me a question. That had nothing to do with city business. That's something that I had. That
$2 million concrete contract doesn't have to do with...
Are we going to move forward here? Mayor Pro Tem Baker.
I'd like to say, talk about the farmer's market again, but I don't think that we're past that at this point. But, you know, by the grace of God, no one pointed any fingers at me during this conversation, so I'm a little hesitant to stick my nose out here and speak at all, frankly. But I do think it's important. I mean, Abraham Lincoln, Edna Abraham, those words, I mean, those are important. We all have come to this with different experiences and different feelings and different expectations of how we're supposed to be up here, how others are supposed to be up here. And just like we talked about with the gateway signs, you're never going to make us all agree exactly on how things should be and have the same emotional feelings. Obviously, Councilman Pennington, he wasn't here last week. He watched the tapes and he has strong feelings and elicited a strong response. He's entitled to that response. We may not agree on how we handle what we would say or how we treat other people when we do that, what roads we take, high or low, but he's certainly entitled to those feelings. Councilman Henderson and Mayor Slater, I understand completely why they're feeling the way they're feeling. My heart breaks for Judy. To think that she was in there and scared, that's awful. And you know what? And I know she watches these meetings. Maybe she stopped. Judy, if you're watching, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. That's truly terrible, and I understand. My wife happens to be here tonight. Having our families involved, I think Councilman Hamilton's wife's here as well. Having our families, those are important relationships, and that drives what we do and how we live our lives, and it hurts and strikes nerves like nothing else when we feel that our significant others or family members are at issue, or are being not damaged in any way. And I hear that we want to move forward, and I think we all do want to move forward in different ways, but my concern and my fear is that, okay, we have this conversation tonight, there is media here. Our next meeting, there's bound to be somebody that's going to bring it back up. It's not going to just go away by us wishing it to go away. And so we need to find a way as a group to come together and say, okay, we recognize there are going to be people in the community that are going to have their own valid concerns and thoughts. Some of them may be more out there than others. But we do have a responsibility to answer to the community, and we can choose not to answer to the community as well if we make that personal choice. I don't understand, and I guess I take a little bit of issue with so much ire thrown at Councilman Hamilton. I don't think he was the impetus to that last meeting's conversation, the anger. He didn't ask the angry questions. He followed up to some questions that were brought to the podium. I do think it's a little bit unfair to point the finger directly at him and to continue to poke at that. Whether or not conversations that were said in private and got in the press and all that, that's not for me to judge. I read them just like everybody else. I didn't witness any of that. I can't speak to that. But to sit here and to point everything at him and say he's the bad guy when he's asking questions that others in the community are asking. I don't think that's necessarily the appropriate course either. It seems like some of the questions have been answered. Unfortunately, press releases and answering questions often breeds more questions. That's just the nature of how our society works. You tell them, you give them one answer, there's 10 questions that you can come from that. So I don't know. I didn't know about your driveway. I never thought to ask you because it was never brought to my attention. So there you go. But I understand why the question was asked in light of the fact that we were working with Delisio and we were trying to figure out what we were doing, and it seems that question's been answered at this point. Can we come together and move forward? I think we can. I still believe we can on a lot of these issues. We're not very far apart on most things. Some of the personal stuff makes it hard. It shouldn't be about the personal stuff. We have to look past that. We all get our feelings hurt. We all have reactions to things that are sometimes irrational. Sometimes they're rational, but we are supposed to maintain our composure up here. We have a certain responsibility to the community and to ourselves and to our fellow council members. I'm hoping that we can continue to try to mend those fences. We're never going to solve the Brian Kishnick stuff. I mean, we're not. He's in prison. He did some things. There's things out there, rumors that still happen. But I think we can all work on taking care of ourselves and how we respond and react to those things. But I guess my only caution is, getting it all off our chest tonight, I don't know if that's a possibility, Mayor. There's still questions that are going to be asked, and we'll do the best we can. But if we can keep out the personal attacks, I think we'll be a lot more respected in the community and have a much better chance of getting the proper messages out there.
Well, my only comment to that is my conversation and Councilman Henderson's conversation with Councilman Hamilton were done in private, off camera, between two people. When he called me a name and gave me the finger, it was done on camera. That's the difference. And I would hope that that's what people may take from this, is that everything's done on camera. Everything's done on a podium, and after a while you suspect that there's a conspiracy between him and the town bully. It's not that you shouldn't jump to that conclusion. They're good friends, they're best friends. Any other comments? Councilwoman Hoderick.
As my husband will say very often, the only person you can control is yourself. And how we respond to bullies when we've been bullied is important because we're leaders in the community. We are examples to the young people that watch these meetings. And we need to have the self-control. It could be a different bully who's from a different corner of the community that comes next. When we withhold information, I understand now that the city manager and the city attorney knew. When we are asking any of us on any topic, is there anything more we need to know? I think if we can make a commitment to one another to be forthcoming with information that is helpful and gives one another confidence in the decisions we're making, that's moving forward. And one of the problems we've had over these past couple years is information that comes to us belatedly. And you can't discern the gossip from the real information. And I think we've really worked hard not to bring gossip here. If we can be honest with one another and forthcoming and not leave communication voids when questions don't get answered, especially if it's an innocuous answer, it leaves a communication void, and that will get filled by something. And it may not be what we want reputationally for ourselves, for our families, or for the city. So we always need to be forthcoming with information to the best of our ability and publicly. We are public servants. It's the great joy to serve the public. It's also a burden because you can't walk through Kroger without getting talked to about different things. How we move forward is being very honest and forthright and not presuming the worst in each of us. I've had it come back to me from people that the word is out there, I can't be trusted. Wow. When I'm trying to work with the systems, with our code, follow the rules, and I'm not trustworthy. So we have to rebuild that trust. We need to not assume the worst in one another going forward and really lock arms to work with one another honestly and candidly and embrace our better angels, as Councilwoman Abraham is saying. We can do better with this, and we could have on this. This did not need to be like this. It asked, given an answer, we would have moved on. This did not need to happen. Let's learn from this and move on. And
any other council comments?
wait a second, Mayor. You know, I apologize to Judy as well. Apparently, it's become clear that at the table just now you indicated that there's a feeling that I have done something to harm her.
That's correct.
That I'm coordinating people to come and harm you.
That's correct.
That is not true. And no wonder we have the division we have, if that's what the thinking is out there. That's not true. I love her to pieces.
I'll take your word for that.
I think about her a lot through all this process. I think about all our spouses, all our families. I think about the city employees that worked in a hostile working environment for a long time and endured a lot of difficulty. And I am sorry that that has happened, but I have not willfully or purposely done anything except tried to perform this job to the best of my ability.
Same here.
And I just want to say that publicly, and I want her to know my heart goes out to her. It was stunning to see the trucks there. And I'm sorry that happened. It won't happen to us, to the city, and to us as individuals, as individuals if we are forthright and forthcoming with information. When we're not, it invites that kind of trauma. And that's how we can avoid it in the future. Thank you.
Councilman Hamilton.
Share the same. If this has caused stress to your wife, I apologize as well. But my wife, who is 7 months pregnant, is in the audience here today. And 2 weeks ago, to have two council members say threatening things to her husband caused her a great deal of stress as well. So I would ask that you apologize to her for how you made her feel for threatening me.
I didn't ask for you to apologize to my wife, and I didn't threaten you. Councilman Henderson.
I didn't.
I called you a chicken.
I didn't threaten.
I didn't threaten you. Go ahead.
I didn't threaten anybody either.
Any other council comments? Any comments regarding the reports this evening? I don't see that anyone signed up for comments on items on or not on the agenda from members of the public outside of Troy. We provided a lot of tape tonight. Thank you for coming. We are adjourned.